Hello, welcome back to my funny YouTube channel. Today is not a roundup video. I am talking about one album. Whoa, wow, crazy. And that album that I'm talking about today is a new Buice record, One Day You'll See the Sun. Atlanta freakcore legends Buice have seen fit to release the follow-up to their 2021 self-titled release after a couple bumpy years, including a lineup change and I believe an entire re-recording of this album. I think this record was supposed to come out in 2022 at some point, as they'd started a rollout and they'd released 3 songs from it before quietly postponing it and taking over a year to restart the rollout and finally drop the record. And the result is this: 46 minutes of colossal, crushing noise rock, and I'm not going to beat around the bush here. This thing is fucking phenomenal. Every single track has something new to offer, and this record excels at everything that it tries. Take lead single The Sun, a song that I was certain was going to be my favorite going into this record. The main riff sounds like what it would feel like to get thrown into a concrete mixer on overdrive, and then the verses sound like you are tossed out of that cement mixer into a cult meeting. It's a very engaging listen, and it's a great display of guitarists Jack Pace and Josh Rubin's chemistry, as the way their 2 guitar parts kind of interweave within each other is a lot of fun. It's such an interesting and engaging listen, and don't even get me started on the tempo change in the back half of the track. This song was also the first taste that we got of the new production, as when the band re-recorded the record, they saw fit to upgrade the production quite a bit. And this is the best that the band has ever sounded. They sound very full and noisy, way much more so than their previous output. And by DIY standards, this sounds like audible gold, obviously, but even by normal standards, this album sounds great. One other thing is different, and that is lead vocalist Hayden Locke's singing voice. Before, it was closer to his normal talking voice, but now he's opted for a gruffer, deeper tone, and I think that it fits the music that they make better than what he was doing before. It also seems healthier for his vocal cords, and if there's one thing I love, it's proper vocal technique. Crooked Girl, the opener, is a nearly 5-minute sort of chat pile-esque slow burn. It's extremely menacing, taking its time with a circular bass line, eerie guitar shrieks, and an initially understated vocal performance before the tension grows to be too much and the song explodes into guitar feedback and unhinged screams. Hayden sings about someone whose very presence is enough to unnerve him, saying, "Something's different in the eyes in her skull, feels like a lie, but she's the same person in there, and if not, I can't tell." Whether or not that's true doesn't seem to ultimately matter, as he devolves into yelling, "I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sick of your shit standing there in your own damn way. You cannot look at me, you can only look at yourself," seemingly coming to the conclusion that this person is not someone he's willing to put up with anymore. But before you have the chance to process the punch in the face that this song is off rip, it launches directly into The Sun with a seamless transition that the first time I heard it, I felt my arms grow around 2 inches wider. So hell yeah. Now, you might make the mistake of expecting the whole record to sound like those first 2 tracks, as they're not too far out of each other's ballparks, but it only takes until the next track, Windy, to prove you wrong. This song is almost bouncy, I'd say, with an infectious main lead line and a damn good bass line. This is also one of the album's most catchy moments, both in terms of riffs and vocal melodies. That little refrain of "centuries have passed, centuries have gone" gets stuck in my head all the time, as well as the main guitar line. This stickiness is a strong compliment I have for the whole record, basically. Buice's influences clearly range far and wide, from Black Midi to Swans to Sonic Youth, but none of it feels derivative or like they're ripping anybody off. For instance, Windy feels like a Black Midi song in that Mango LaCroix has the impression of mango in there. And that's not meant to be a dig at all. I love this song. I do hate LaCroix, but it was a funny comparison, I think. Part of what sets Buice apart is their strong sense for hooks, both instrumentally and vocally, and that makes this album easier and easier to come back to. The following track, ADHD, is an even stronger example of this. While the vocals aren't particularly earwormy, despite being very fun to sing along to, that main riff, it's so goddamn good. The part in the song where everything drops out and it's just the bass and a hi-hat pulse makes me want to punch a hole in the wall. It is so effective at turning me into a fucking animal. It's so effective at that I have to wonder if this album comes packaged with 2 gallons of testosterone. This song also has one of my favorite guitar parts. It's pretty small, blink and you'll miss it, but the little bah, bah, at the end of that happens after every rotation of the main riff, is so creative, so cool. I can't get enough of it. And I know so far in this review, I've kind of harped on how catchy this record is, but then we get to Grifter, which might be the most catchy song on the entire project. There's a common saying where if you can sing your riff pretty easily, there's a good chance that it'll stick with people and get caught in people's heads and all that. And boy, did Buice take that and run for this record. Both the chunky bass line and the bluesy guitar parts that feel like they're circling you stick in my head all the time, and that's not even to mention the chorus, whose melody could fit perfectly fine into some demented-ass pop song. The way the song builds into the chorus is very satisfying as well, and if you thought this band was done switching it up rhythmically, you're wrong, because when drummer Robert Lloyd launches into a 2-step beat towards the end of the song, I feel like ripping my shirt off, turning into a werewolf, and howling at the damn moon. Now, going into this record, as I mentioned before, I was expecting The Sun to be my favorite track. I thought surely nothing could top that song, as when that song dropped, it was easily my favorite thing the band had ever done. However, this record, once it gets to this point, is not content to rest on its laurels, and the second half is where shit gets just unbelievable. Out of nowhere, Untitled springs up from under the arena and hits you with a steel chair. It is the first of this album's 6-minute songs, and it is something to behold. It's also the most painful and cathartic moment on this record, which is an achievement considering this record. And it's about, in simple terms, a guy that sucks. The band brings on a guest vocalist for this song, one Karina Teichert of Great, Great, Great Beautiful Lives, Yes, Yes, and their contribution is nothing short of breathtaking and sobering. The lyrics detail the betrayal and anger felt by a survivor of sexual assault, and the first time I listened to this song, I had to take a break. It is such a powerful and gut-wrenching listen, bolstered even more by the tense, pummeling 5/4 instrumental that takes its sweet time to reach a climax, but once it does, it leaves you in complete shambles. The cooperating refrains of "I'm not your fucking mommy" and "did it to yourself" that hit once the song reaches this point are just harrowing, especially with Karina reaching a breaking point and screaming in a way that I can really only describe as blood-curdling. You feel the frustration in this song so acutely that I almost want to issue a trigger warning for this track. It is that much of a punch to the gut. Seeing this track played live is not something I will ever forget, and I feel very lucky that I have seen it. Now, following that up is the song Apocalypse Now, and I think that this is an example of perfect sequencing. If you know me or you listen to my Fall Out Boy podcast, you know that sequencing is something that I take very seriously, or like when going into a record. And following up such a draining song as Untitled with this, a song that takes 2 entire minutes to get to a point where everyone is playing their instruments and Hayden is singing, is the only correct choice. Which is really funny because this song is also 6 minutes long. Absolute mad lads in this band to do that, but this is also a phenomenal track. There are 3 identifiable sections in this song, all held together by an impassioned performance from Hayden, detailing his frustrations with our current political landscape and the inherent unfairness that comes with trying to operate within the rules laid out by the powers that be. I've seen a lot of bands at this level try and make political statements and fail completely. Hell, I've seen a lot of bands in much more popular positions than this band try and fail at the same thing, but Buice sticks the landing and sticks the landing very well. They do a great job of communicating a feeling that I and a lot of other people have living in our current age without being cringe, which is a hell of an achievement. And I gotta shout out the first like 3 minutes of this song. It is like, damn. It is so good. So good. Not that the rest of the song is bad after that point, but like the way that the track like moves is so addicting. And when Hayden gets to a point where he's just screaming huh over and over and over again, it's like, yeah, man. I get it, dude. Huh, indeed. Track 8, 221935, is home to the single best riff on the entire album. I will not take any arguments on this, and I am now speaking directly to Josh Rubin. You, Josh Rubin, I know you're watching. Are you a wizard? How do you play this riff live for the whole song? I've seen you do it multiple times and I still don't get it. What arcane forces are you channeling through your fingers to pull this off as consistently as you do? If you feel like telling me, hit me up. I would like to partake in some of that. At any rate, this is probably the song that I would show to people if they ask, what the fuck is a Buice? It is the most effective mission statement for the band on this record. The way that the song is built, with the different instruments interacting almost as if they're having a conversation with each other, really just shows the creativity on display within this band's songwriting and just how engaging they can be without uttering a single word. Don't get me wrong, there are words uttered on this track. I particularly love the lines, look at me when I'm talking to you, don't look at me that way. There's just something so potent in the discomfort displayed in those lines that I start getting nervous, and I'm not even there. Lake City, Missouri is a rap rock song. Kind of. Didn't see that coming, though. Good lord, it slams. Mixing noise rock and rap rock is not something I would have immediately thought of, but it really works. And I think a key reason as to why it works is because they put a bunch of distortion on Hayden's vocals during the verses, and that really lends itself to making Hayden's voice feel like a chaotic texture rather than a vocal part. Not like the vocals are completely unintelligible. If you know what he's saying, they'll come through pretty clear most of the time. But I thought that was a really tasteful way of making this genre work within the noise rock kind of umbrella. And at the end of the day, the groove on this one is undeniable. You can't help but do a little dance whenever this one comes on. Finally, we've reached the closer, I Am Mothman. It is the longest song here at 6 minutes and 46 seconds, and the band reels it in a little bit to do something a little more contemplative. It borders on shoegaze territory at points, especially during the first half of the song, and it is the most beautiful song in the band's entire discography. I think it's about feeling uncertain in your own skin, with lyrics like, give me another way out of my strife. I don't know where to go, but it would be real nice to have a name and a home or another life. It elicits a very somber, resigned feeling in me whenever I listen to this track. And I forgot to mention this, but the repeated refrain of I Am Mothman is so, like, on the surface, it seems really silly. Like, oh, I'm a Godzilla villain. But in practice, the way that it's incorporated and how often it's repeated and how desperate Hayden seems by the end of it, it comes off as extremely depressing. It's not something I ever saw myself connecting with like this. And I don't even know why I connect to it or what it really means, but something about it really speaks to me. And even though it still wanders into like batshit territory with a danceable switch up towards the end of the song, it still ends quietly. And it left me completely destroyed on my first listen. I also want to point out the reincorporation of the vocal melody from ADHD with the line, I thought you knew. It's really tastefully done, and I only just noticed it on like my 80th fucking listen. So, god damn it. How is this album so good? All in all, this Buice record really is something else. It is a vast, eclectic mix of different kinds of noise rock and post-hardcore, and I cannot recommend it enough. The second this gets a vinyl release, I am buying their entire stock, and I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. If you don't go and listen to this record right now, fuck you. You're stupid and I hate you. Thank you for watching. If you like these reviews, this is the only one so far, so if you like this one, tell me, I guess. Follow my band at Bummer Hill on Instagram, at Bummer Hill ATL on Twitter. Subscribe to the channel if you feel like it. I don't know. I still haven't figured out what outro I'm doing for these videos yet. Bye.